What's up, people? Kayak Dude here. Got a couple ideas on some gear modifications I came up with. Thought I'd shoot a video and kind of tell you about them. First one is something to do with a wool blanket that you can use to make your hammock a lot more insulated. What I got here is one of these jungle hammocks that you can lay on it, regular wise. It's stitched, folded over, so you can open up and get into it just like a cocoon, pull it over you, keep the bugs off. Very effective in hot weather, but if there's a little chill in the night, then this thing is not going to keep you warm. So anyway, my first attempt at insulating this hammock was to buy a fleece sleeping bag, and sounded good in theory until I tried to use it. And I'll tell you what, it was a fiasco trying to get into the sleeping bag and try to get into the hammock and wiggle around and pull it over me. I mean, it was like watching a fat girl crawl into the back seat of a Volkswagen Bug. It was not pretty. And it took a while to get in and a while to get out, and I thought, no, this ain't going to work. Plus, laying on that, it compressed any insulation I had behind me, and pretty quick I had a cold butt and a cold back, which led to not much sleep at all. Which then leads me to this deal here. What we got is a basically standard military surplus 80% wool blanket, and it was a little too short for me. I'm 6'4", and so this thing is just not long enough to wrap around my feet and wrap around my head. So we had this other little blanket, which is basically just a wool throw blanket that you would use sitting in the chair, and I had my wife stitch it onto the end of this one. So now it's 11.5 feet long, and I think 64 inches wide. Plenty big enough to do what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is, I've got some of these blanket pins. I'm sure you all have seen these before. What I did is I bought some wire that you would use for hanging your suspended ceilings. I'm not sure what it's called or what the gauge is of it. Took some, wrapped a coil around some 3-inch PVC pipe, cut it, bent these around here. And then I took a nail, stuck it in my vise, and then that way I could wrap these around it, around the nail, and then slip them off, and I got a nice little tight bend here. Got to put a pretty decent point on them for them to penetrate through the wool blanket, because if you don't, it's you're just going to punch holes through it rather than just penetrate it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take all these, I'm going to take this blanket and I'm going to fold it around the hammock, pin it all together with these, and I'll show you what I got in mind as a much better alternative way to stay warm in a hammock. So I'll be back with you in just a minute once I get things set up. What we're going to do is you take about 2 inches of material and you overlap it by about that much. Take this and insert it just like a safety pin back in through the other side. Okay, now what you do with this is you flip that over, you spin it underneath that, and it's pinned down, it's not coming out. So go ahead, and we're going to take these and we're going to go ahead and do these all the way down and make a tube with our wool blanket. What I'm going to do with this one here is I'm actually going to take this one, instead of just doing one little wrap, I'm going to do like a double wrap down here at the end, which will actually bring a tapered fit, which, number one, it gives you 2 layers of wool blanket around your feet, which is going to make a big difference. Plus, with it being tapered down here, as you get in it and slide it down, the blanket will only slide so far, and then it'll stop right here. That way you don't have to worry about in the middle of the night pulling the blanket plumb up past your feet. It's a good way to, it's almost like making the bottom end of a sleeping bag. Alright, well, now that we've probably wondering why I'm doing this on the ground first, I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier to do this on the ground before you hang the hammock, because once you got it up in the hammock and the wind's blowing, your blanket's blowing around, it's a real hassle to get this thing pinned out how you want it. So let me go ahead and get this hammock hung up real quick, and I'll show you just how effective this thing is. Alright, got in here a little easier than a fat girl in a bug that time. So here I am, got our jungle hammock going on. This thing here, say it'll be able to wrap up plumb all the way around. You can get your head in here, get down in there situated pretty good. So, since we got our little tapered fit down at the end, this whole thing will just slip right over you. And the nice thing about having a blanket this long is it's long enough I can take excess of it, pull it up over my head, lay it behind me. I got a pillow instantly, or I can pull it plumb up here and jam it through these ropes, and that helps tie it in place to just kind of help keep the wind out. One thing about this though is you still got to get in a place where you're out of the wind, because a little bit of a breeze will still come through these spots in between these pins, and will still give you some cold spots on you. So it provides you a dead airspace, but a whole contingent upon how much of a windbreak you've got. Anyway, here's a way to use your blanket whenever you're using a hammock, just to give you some insulation on those nights that are not ideal warm summer nights. So happy camping, catch you later.